the physics fight. Before we start, let's review some of the basic regulations. So there can be no communication between people in this room and anyone outside this room. So no calling anyone or using internet to talk to other people, exchange information, and no recording of audio or video. And so today we'll have 3 teams. I'll ask the team leader to introduce her team members. Let's start from the report.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bill, and I'm from Mindanao State. With Ryan, with Daniel, and with Benjamin.
Thank you. And you,
We are team bonding and compound SHSH. And I'm the central number 18 deploying.
Hello everyone, we are anonymous. I'm the character Yu Ling, she is Yu Wu, Yu Tingjang, Yu and Yu Yu.
So I'm the Ping from the National Taiwan University. I forgot to my page, but I'll do that later. And I asked the jury to introduce themselves.
I'm Wen-Chin Wu from National Taiwan Normal University.
I'm Wen-Chin Guo from Zhongzheng University.
I'm Wen-Chin Ling from National Taiwan Normal University.
I'm Hong Quan from National Taiwan Normal University.
Okay, so are there any questions about regulation or how we're going to do this fight? Everyone's ready? Okay, so let's start the first fight, and the opponent should challenge a question. You have 1 minute.
Number 16.
Number 16.
Yeah.
Number 16. Reject? Okay. Reject. Can you find another problem to challenge? 17. 17. Accepted. Accept. Okay. So you have 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes to do. Please write down the names of the representatives on the blackboard, please. Okay, the reporter, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is TYPT from University. This is our outline. First, I'll introduce the problem statement. Then, there's the model and we analyze the model. Third, I introduce our experiment about measure the Young's modulus and measure the wave speed. Fourth is our comparison between the theory and our experiment. And the fifth is our analysis. And the last is our conclusion. This is the problem statement. The problem is called popsicle chain reaction. When you weave many popsicle sticks together and release it, then it will have this video. We will have the phenomenon presented in this video. Okay, next page. So this is all the force that put on the one single stick. The orange one is the force that was given by other popsicle sticks. And the green one is a normal force caused by the table. Next page. And because each stick was bent and has stored a propulsion energy. So the energy is stored inside was Young's modulus times the width times the thickness to 5 power divided by length to 3 power. And because we want to measure the Young's modulus of the sticks that we use in our experiment, so we measure the height by using this formula to calculate the Young's modulus. Next page. So this is our experiment. The yellow one here is a laser beam, and the yellow one here is the stick that we want to measure the Young's modulus. So when we put weight on it, then it will bend like this. So the mirror will hit on it, and the laser will come here and reflected by the mirror to here. And we want to measure the height of here. So we measure the length here called h. And by these data, we can get the But why do we want to do this experiment is because when we just simply put weight on a single stick, then the degree bend was very small. So we have to use a light to make this easier to measure. And this is our device look like. The yellow one here is the stick here. Next step. So this is our result. By simplifying the formula from the former formula, we can get this. And because when we are doing the experiment, the theta is almost 0, so it can be changed into sine theta and tangent theta. So after the calculation here, we can get the h equal to ah divided by 2d. So this is our result. We have used 2 different kinds of sticks to do this experiment. And the Young's modulus of the first one is 1.24 times 10 to 10 power. And the second one was 9.97 to 10 to 8 power Pascal. And next, after we measure the Young's modulus, we can calculate the energy stored inside. So we want to know the relation between the electric energy and the wave of speed that was weaved back to sticks. And so the x-axis is time and the y-axis is the distance moved. So it is like this. And this is our comparison. By weaving these sticks like this, when we release one of them, and it will be like a wave and go forward. So we think that the pitch here is an important parameter to influence the wave of speed, the speed of wave. Sorry. So we compare the wave speed and the pitch in this chart. As you can see, that when the pitch has increased, then the speed will go faster too. And this is the other kind of sticks. And it is the pitch increase and the speed increase as well. So this is our theory. This here is the energy stored in every stick. And this one here is the kinetic energy that when it was released and it will rush out. So the kinetic energy has relation with the elastic energy inside it. So by this formula, we can calculate the speed of every stick when we release it. And next, we define that A is a pitch. So the wave of speed, the speed of wave, has relation to the pitch, because when one end was released, then the popsicles will rush out. So when these 2 popsicles has escaped from the system, then the system will go for the distance of 1 pitch. So do these 2 too. So the wave speed has relation to the pitch. And the third, the wave speed is directly proportional to the speed of every stick. Because when the sticks escape faster, then the wave will then the sticks in the wave will decrease faster. So the wave speed is directly proportional to the speed of every stick. And the last formula is a combination of the above of the above. Next time. So this is our analysis. And the blue one is the number one stick that I have mentioned before. The blue one, Young's modulus, is more than the red one's Young's modulus. And the x-axis is the pitch of the system, and the y-axis is the speed. So when we draw a graph like this, we can use that the pitch and the speed has positive correlation. And by comparing the two lines here, we also can use that when the Young's modulus of the stick is more than the other, then the Young's modulus was bigger, the blue one. Its speed will faster than the Young's modulus lesser, the red line here. Next step. So this is our conclusion. In our experiment, we can use that when Young's modulus increase and we increase by default. So then when the pitch increase, then the wave speed will increase too. By analyze the former chart graph. But we can see that when the Young's modulus increase a lot, the wave speed increase a little only. Because the Young's modulus of the first stick is almost 10 times more than the Young's modulus of the second stick. But the wave speed of the first one is just a little more than the second one. So we can get this conclusion. And next, we found that when pitch increases a little, the wave speed will increase a lot comparing to the Young's modulus. Because when the pitch increase about half times, then the wave speed will increase a lot more than the wave speed next thing. So this is our comparison between the theoretical and experimental. Because of this conclusion, and our theory is this: by using the former formula, the experiment and the theory has matched. So do this one. So here's the video I didn't show. Sorry, because of some technical problem. Oh, here it comes again. So we release one of the dead and it will look like this, like a wave. Thank you for listening.
Okay, and I have some question to ask you that, can you go to, I want to ask what is the pitch means?
The pitch means in the here. The pitch means the distance between
Okay, so you choose the pitch by changing the angle you arrange, or you just arrange the stick in one angle?
by changing the angle.
And how many angles you have made?
3.
And how many times you have made your experiment?
Many times. So
Many times is how many?
10 more.
10 more. Okay, thank you. And please go to the page you measure your Young's modulus. That there is a mirror on your postal stick. That do you think that the mirror's weight will influence the bending degree of the stick, or you just neglect it or ignore it?
We have ignored the H before we put it on weight. So there's a initial condition.
So you ignore the weight of the mirror, so you don't see.
No, we consider it into it. So before we put on weight, we have calculated the weight of the mirror.
But can you go to the theory you measure the Young's modulus? So this is the theory you use to measure your Young's modulus, right?
Right.
And the height is
Yes.
the Young's modulus. So you think after you neglect the height the mirror made, right? So if you neglect the height the mirror made, it's
Okay.
the Young's. Okay, thank you.
I have 3 minutes to prepare.
everyone. I am the opponent of Anonymous, and I'm Yuting Zhang. And today I'm going to tell about popsicle chain reaction. And the question is this, and we will focus on the highlighted part that is slightly bending each of them, and one of its end is released. And what we will see must stick bounce up, and the chain travels along and the wavefront travels along the chain. And next one, I think the pros and cons for the reporter is they have a good experiment set up, but I think they should speak more smoothly, and they don't mark the pressure statement. And I think there is lack of parameters, and I think they're a little bit missed point. Since we need to investigate the phenomenon and they talk too much of the Young's modulus, I think Young's modulus is important, but this is not the most important. Okay, let's quit. And this setup, I want to ask about this question I have asked, and how do you measure the wavefront speed? I don't know how you measure it. It's the first one or what? And do you have any other parameters in your experiment? What I know is your parameter is your Young's modulus and maybe the angle, but you didn't show the result of the angle. And did the angle affect the conclusion? You didn't say. You said the pitch half, but I don't say see the results. And if you bend the possible things, there must be something changed. So the situation must be changed. And how to measure the speed of the cobra wave? And this is the next one. And your angle, I want to ask it again because I think this is really important. And you just say you change the pitch, and how do you change it? And do you control the size? And next one, I want to ask your theory. Did you calculate your formula yourself because you didn't say you have any paper research? And can you explain more of your formula? And then can you explain how the energy change? This is the point I say you missed point. You talk too much about the Young's modulus that I don't know why this phenomenon will happen. Then what is the law in page 13? If it's the density, can I ask how you measure the density and how many times? Then it's one. Do you think your theory fits your result fits your theory? And how many times have you done? You say many times and 10 times more. So, and do you think the point in page 14 fits the line? And any more? Okay, and I think in the following time we can talk more about your theory since you don't have talked a lot about this. So can we just skip the time, please?
Discussion.
Thank you. And for the first question, and do you have any other parameters in your experiment, like the angle I said, and the amount, or the height, the mass, or anything else?
I think when the angle change, then the pitch will change as well.
Yes.
So when we measure the pitch, we also have to measure the angle.
So do you have your relation between the wavefront speed and the angle?
Not yet.
So you don't have a result or a data about your pitch. So without data, and you said the angle or the pitch will influence the
And then that's
conclusion.
yeah, because when the pitch increases, then the speed will increase.
So do you know why this will happen?
Because in our theory part,
Yes.
I think theory part. I think when two sticks has escaped, then the distance the system will travel will increase for one pitch. Because when these two have disappeared, you can see that the wave travel from here to there.
So I still can't understand. So you think the pitch influence the velocity and
Influence the wave speed.
okay, and why? So you say your theory, but can you talk about your theory?
Because when the wave traveling,
Yes.
and the sticks will keep escaping.
Yes.
Keep escaping. So if this is the system,
Yes.
and when these two sticks has escaped, then the system will travel for.
Okay, so I still don't understand what your angle influence. So do you think that the angle will influence the energy stored in the stick? So since in my experiment I get a positive relation between the bounce up velocity and the wavefront velocity. So in your experiment that the pitch is bigger, that means the velocity is
The wave speed will increase.
the wave speed will increase, so it means that the bounce up velocity will increase. Yes?
So the bounce off velocity was influenced by Young's modulus.
So you don't think the angle will influence the bounce up velocity?
No?
Do you measure it?
I think so.
But I measure it and I find that the bounce up velocity will be influenced by the angle as well. And I said they're in a positive relation, right? So I think when the pitch is bigger, so the energy stored in the stick will be also bigger. So I think when the angle changes, do you think that you have drawn a picture? You have a picture like this, right? Do you think that when the angle changes, that this height will change?
Because no matter how you weave it,
Yes.
the picture will always look like this. And the position of core of the sticks will also like this. So the height here is always in the thickness of the sticks.
So you don't think there will be any change in the sticks, right?
I think it will change, but not that,
So you think they will change, but
not much.
not much that it won't influence? Okay, that's next question. And since you release your stick, right? And there will bounce up. And did you consider about the turning force that since the stick bounce up, the stick will turn around? Then you can turn to your experiment video, please.
I can get it that when the stick was released, you will move, but also rotate.
Yes.
And in our theory part,
So I don't want you to look at your theory. Please look at your.
in our theory part,
Yes.
there's a formula between the kinetic energy and the energy stored in a stick. But I didn't write a equal because I think part of it
So do you
will.
think the spinning force will influence the speed?
Yes, I think so.
So you didn't consider the spinning force since you think that the spinning force will influence the speed, right?
I've considered it in because I think all the energy stored will turn
I
into
mean, just you, wait, in your theory, there is a relation between the velocity, right?
between velocity of what?
Go to your theory page, please. So this is your velocity, right?
This or this.
All of it. So in your theory, I can see about the spinning force.
Oh, because in this formula, the stored energy will turn into the rotate energy. Part of it will turn to rotate energy.
So since it will influence your conclusion, you didn't measure it, right?
I didn't measure it, but I will.
Okay, it's okay. Then I want to ask the next question that do you think the amount of the stick will influence your final result?
I think it will, but when the sticks get longer, it won't influence that much because okay.
So what I think it will is when we bounce up the stick, right?
Yes.
And if you have looked at your experiment video, so you can see that the whole chain will flip up, right, like this. Yes. So if the chain is long enough, you don't think that the long chain will influence the velocity, right?
Right.
So you think even I have a 200 sticks contained in my chain, the velocity will still like what you have drawn.
Yes.
So don't you think that since the elastic potential energy is stored in the stick chain, right? And it needs to provide the energy to make the stick bounce up, right?
Right.
And it needs also it's to provide all of the chain to split up, right?
Right.
So you don't think if the chain is long enough, the mass is long enough, big enough, and the velocity won't be changed. It will be still like what you have measured, right?
Yes. May I explain it?
So, okay.
When all of the energy is stored inside,
Yes.
larger, but there is also more stick that needs energy to bounce up. So after dividing both of it, I think it will not influence a lot.
So you don't think it will influence a lot?
No.
Okay, then it's the next problem. Please go to your theory page here. That do you think your results measure your theory?
Match?
Match, yes.
I do think so.
And please tell me the relation between the two theories you use.
Oh, because in this formula here, when the
Yes.
pitch increase, then the speed will increase in theoretical consequence. And also, when the Young's modulus increase, and the wave speed will increase as well. But because the Young's modulus was in a square root, so if it increase a lot, then the wave speed will increase a little.
So you don't think the length of your stick or other thing will influence it, since you only consider your Young's modulus?
Oh, the length of the speed will influence it as well, but we didn't did it in experiment.
So please go to your theory page.
Yeah.
No, I mean the comparison page. So you have the the next page. So this is you only measure the pitch and the speed and the Young's modulus. Where is the Young's modulus page?
Yeah.
So since you talk so much about your Young's modulus, but what you have give me is only the pitch. So I think your result didn't match the theory, right?
Oh, maybe our experiment didn't do a lot, but in our experiment
Oh,
it
it's okay.
is also fixed.
And in the last time when you tell me how did this phenomenon happen?
Because when the sticks was glued together,
Yes.
then it will store energy. And when we release it, the energy will change to kinetic energy and rotation energy. So it will look like a wave.
So you think that the elastic potential energy turned into kinetic energy and spinning energy?
Yes.
You don't think so that it's the kinetic energy turned into the potential energy, I mean mgh, and the spinning energy?
Oh, well, sorry, I didn't mention the potential energy. Sorry.
So
I think it will influence, yes.
So you think the energy converting formula is like this. It will equals this and
Excellent.
this. Right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and I want to say that I think the reporter didn't fix its result to their theory since they talk so much about the Young's modulus. And I think they don't really understand the energy converting formula. And then I think there are little bit lack of parameter that I think the length and the width and the amount and the angle also influence the sticks for it, but they only do the Young's modulus, and since they talk so much about it, they do the pitch of the velocity. So, and then I think they shouldn't just ignore the height of the mirror made, since I think they must consider the mirror and okay, thank you.
Okay. Hello everyone. Excuse me.
Reporter.
Sorry.
Sorry, sorry.
Yes. Can you go to page 11? I want to ask that if this is the speed of the wave and when the time is 0, maybe the movement of the wave is 0
Oh,
and
this is the distance we move. This is x,
So-
not v.
yeah, I mean the distance it moves. Maybe the time is 0 and the wave start at 0.
No, the wave doesn't start. started.
Why it didn't start?
Because when we take a video, then the video started, but after a few seconds we release it. So the reaction doesn't start at zero.
So
Yes.
you said you have done the experiment too. So
Yes.
do you mention this, and did you have that problem that the X
You mean
didn't
that
start
the-
from zero?
If I do my experiment, I will cut the video until the sticks release. So my video will be the start is the video, the stick release, and the end is it
Yes.
fall
Thank you.
down. Yes.
And about the experiment and theory part, do you consider about the friction force? Do you think it's important?
Sorry.
So will do you have ways to correct it?
Wait.
Do you have ways to have the solution to correct it with friction force?
I think I will improve.
How do you think?
I think the friction force is not really that important because in my
Okay. And I want to ask about how to measure the velocity of the wave, because when you start a wave, it might be accelerating.
Yes.
So how do you measure your average velocity, or about the velocity line you draw?
We took a picture and use checker to
There's a page you put the average velocity, right? Maybe at the last page. Yeah. That chart of the velocity. Yeah, this one. How do you measure this? Did you consider the first
Okay.
part when it's accelerating? Thank you.
I should comment that in principle the opponent should not mention your own experiment. The results of your own experiment.
I'm
You're
sorry.
in principle not supposed to talk about it here unless you are the reporter. Okay, reviewer.
Okay, good morning everyone, and I'm going to make a brief review of the problem of popsicle chain reaction. Okay, let's start. About the problem statement, we use popsicle to make a wave that can be released very quickly, and that's a cool phenomenon, and we're going to investigate it. Okay, about the reporter, they talk about the theory, setup, parameter, and all things about the experiment. And then we think that they have a good video of performing the phenomenon at the first, but we suggest that they can put more video in the lasting part of their maybe setup and experiment part. So that's a little pity. And we think that the theory is too ideal, and maybe you should correct it by your theory, by your experiment, and that might be more fit to this position. Yeah. And then about the experiment part, yeah, as I said, maybe you can compare it with the theory. And then a good point is they got a lot of theory data. They used the theory to calculate a lot of things, and that's quite a good part. And then about the parameters, I think they didn't control the things to, the parameter to control they didn't do well, because about the pitch, and that might be controlled more properly. Okay, and about the advantages, they have great experiment setups, and that's a really good point. And suggestion is the theory, they just put an equation on it, and I think that I go with the opponent. They should do more explanation of the theory. Okay, and they should control on other parameters, and I think that is important too. So okay, about the opponent, I think opponent did a great job to find the point of the reporter missed, and she got a very good expression ability, and that's quite good for us to understand what they are discussing about. And about suggestions, I think it's a pity that the opponent didn't make a further discussion of every question. She just ask a question and skip to another. I think that's a little bit not quite good at the discussion part, because you have a lot of time to discuss into a serious problem. Okay, and about the review of the discussion, the opponent asked that, do you consider the angle effect? And the reporter said they think that it's sent to the pitch. And I suggest that the pitch, the angle, and the length of the obstacle is 3 factors that can prove by the other 2. So if you got 2 factors of these 3, and you can get another. So maybe my suggestion is they should make a good measure and discussion of the pitch and how they calculated the length, because they have the part that is do you see those X? That might be a bad part of controlling the parameters. Okay, and we think that, yeah, this is how we think. And about the experiment, matches the theory, and they only measure the velocity of the wave. So I think that's quite pity of this situation. Okay, and that's my review of this topic, and thank you everyone.
Reporter.
In my report, I think in the discussion, I think there's a lot to do with my experiment, because I think I didn't have enough data. But about the words that the opponent and the reviewer said, I think my theory predicted that when the pitch increased and the wave speed will increase, and my experiment also observed it. So I think in this part, I think it is reasonable. Okay, so about the mirror, about the weight of mirror, while we doing this experiment, we put on the mirror and measure the initial edge. So when we increase the weight of the popsicle, then I think the delta H is actually caused by the weight. So I think the initial condition has considered the weight of mirror. So next is the part of the stored energy, how to the conversion of the energy stored. In this formula, I think I had lost the potential energy HGH. So after the discussion, I think it is reasonable. So next part. They have discussed about the pitch and the angle. And I agree with the interviewer because when we calculate the pitch and length, we can know the angle. So I think it is safety. So this is my remark. Thank you.
So, questions from the jury?
Okay, one question to the opponent. You mentioned that the reporter only focused on the Young's module and didn't put too much effort on the other phenomena in this experiment. So, do you think there's anything that they missed? I mean, something else they should observe or discuss?
I think that the amount will influence, and they measure the pitch, but as they didn't do too much to the pitch, they just say it. And I think the angle is also the point, and the thickness. I know the thickness is also the thickness influence is almost same to the Young's modulus, but I think the thickness is also the one to measure, and the length. Yes, I think there is also a lot of parameters, not only the Young's modulus. Yes.
The same question to reviewer.
Yes. We think that the Young's modulus will affect the results of the experiment much more than other factors, and yeah, that's just my suggestion.
So the reporter, you just mentioned that the NGH term should be considered. So besides of the velocity of the wave, do you think there's other phenomenon interesting? Yeah, I mean, for example, what do you mean by NGH?
Oh, because we discussed it, and the opponent asked me where's the elastic energy changing to. So I answered this too, but the opponent remind me that
So your sticks will fly high when
Yes.
higher and higher?
no, it will keep in a certain height.
So your wave keep on a constant velocity.
Yes.
I have the next question that in your last page you try to discuss about that you have two kind of sticks and the Young's modulus is 10 times for the larger one. Yeah, you try to explain because the velocity is proportional to the square of Young's modulus. But I don't think that because the two sticks, the Young's modulus is 10 times larger, the square of 10 should be around 3 times. I don't think your velocity is 3 times larger than the other one.
Okay, I can.
You have any idea about this?
Because I think because the Young's modulus affects the elastic energy, and but in our discussion, the Young and the elastic energy also will change in these two parts. But I think it is not a constant because in my theory part, I think the certain part of the elastic energy will change into kinetic energy. But after the question of you, I think this is not a certain part.
Just a short question. You mentioned that you measure each experiment more than 10 times.
Yes.
Could you tell us the variation of the data you obtained from those measurements?
Oh, because
What's the fluctuation of your data?
Error bar or uncertainty?
Could you turn to the average data? You have data from no, the previous one. Yeah. The one after this. No. Integrate to
With two tables.
Yeah.
with two tables.
Yes.
You said, for example, number one, you have 3.30 meters per second. That's the average speed. What's the range of the speed you're making? Large range or small range? Can you show us the raw data?
well, not here, because in our checker, and the graph looks like it is a constant speed, so I think but I didn't show it here as well, sorry. Because I forgot to show the error bar.
Yeah, the one below. 3.30 and 3.57. Is this a big difference or is it
It is not big.
So please take your seats. Wait a minute. Okay, so let's start with the quarter. Please raise your score for the report. 65577. And for the opponent, 77788. And for the reviewer, 87778. Okay, thank you all very much, and take a break of 10 minutes. Welcome back, and let's start this fight. The opponent, please propose a question. You have 1 minute.
Problem 14, moving pendant.
Problem 14. Accept, okay. Please write down the names of your representatives on the blackboard. The reviewer, please write down the name of your representative. reporter, please.
So, hello everyone. I am the reporter Ling Yizhu from the team alignments. So today I'm to going you about the topic looping pendulums. So I'm to going out our outline. It will be the question, theory, calculation, experiment, observation, and conclusion. First, we're going to our question statement. What we need to do is that we need to connect two loads. One is heavy and one is light. We need to keep the heavy load from falling to the ground. I'm going to our theory. My theory will be the Newton's second law of
I'm
the
sorry,
motion.
have you stopped timing a little bit? You have technical problem?
Yes, yes. Need to start again. In this phenomenon, our theory will be the Newton's second laws of motion, circular motion, and energy conversion. We use the circular motion to let the force turn to the velocity, and we use the energy conversion to let the velocity go to the height, just like this. And first, we try to consider all the parameters in this phenomenon, so we can write these four equations about every variable. But this four question is caused too many differential operations, so we try to simplify it to another equation. So we can go to the next page. First, we need to analyze that the tangent, when the light loads whip around the rods, the tangent will quickly increase. So when a heavy load gets slowed down, the tangent is very big. So it will make the heavy load stop immediately. So we didn't consider the distance from this part, just when the heavy load gets slowed down. Then, so we can get these 6 equations. The one is when the heavy load stops. At this moment, the light load will do the circular motion, and so we can get equation 1. We use equation 2 just let the mass multiply the velocity to be the kinetic energy. So we try to turn kinetic energy to the equation 4 just by the energy conversion. 5 is about the series that if there is friction between the grid and the rods, the tangent two sides will be different. So the big T here means the tangent around the light load side, and we saw that when the heavy load is stopped, the tangent is equal to the weight of heavy load. The equation 6 is just the loss plus the street. So substitute every variables. I think we can get this formula, and we use this formula to predict that when the heavy load will stop. It's because we need to keep the heavy load from falling to the ground by Christian's limit. Here, first we try to measure by the output machine, and we get the coefficient of the friction will be the 0.3156. And this equation, it just means when there is friction between the thread and the rod, the tangent two sides will like this friction, will like these equations. We use our experiment to prove that our formula is right. So we try to independent variable is the wedge ratio and the initial angles. The dependent variable will be the height. This is a video about our wedge ratio. So again. Okay, so next page. We choose the wedge ratio to be the 1 to 14, 1 to 15, 1 to 16, 1 to 17, and 1 to 18. The first two data is right there, and you can see, and as you can see, we can get the height. That is the experiment value, so we just measure it by the video and for the with tracker. We didn't show the data with the 1 to 18. It's because the 1 to 18 didn't succeed. Why it didn't succeed? It's simple because all the lines, when the heavy load stops, the light load cannot finish a circle, so it will turn back, and the friction between the grid and the rod didn't enough, so it will keep falling down. This is a chart and this chart by our formula, and this one is the data from our experiment. Okay, this is our video about we change the initial angle. We change the initial angle. It means to change the energy potential, and you can see that we just let this one here. This one will be the 45 degrees. Okay. So we can get the data between. We can get the data like we can get the data height, and the wedge ratio we use is 1 to 12. The observation is that this two chart, it means when the light loads, it can finish a circle. When the heavy load stops, just stop here, and it can fix the heavy load from falling to the ground. But this one, it stopped here. It's just a situation that 1 to 18. When it stops here, it will falling down, and the friction didn't enough, so it will let the heavy load keep falling. This two chart is to show that when the initial angle is horizontal like here, it can do a perfect circle. But when the initial angle is like this one, the 30 degree means this to this here, and it cannot do the perfect circle. So as we see the potential, the initial angles in effect is like this. This is a chart when I use the formula to draw, and so by this chart we just substitute that the wedge ratio is 1 to 15, and then we can get if the light load stop at the 20 angles 20, we can get the heavy load will stop at the 0.6 like this. So we saw after our two experiments, we saw this formula is correct. So we can use this formula to predict that how low the heavy load will fall in. So our conclusion will be this four. First, the main force make the
connection between the grass and the street. The second, when the light of street lamp should finish a circle, it means that just the first chart we comparison. Yeah. And the third one will be the initial angle made and the potential change, just like the picture 2. We can see the picture 1 and the picture 2. Okay, so this for the question is the conclusion second and is the conclusion third. So we can get the height when the weight ratio or the initial angle is the conditions. So the initial angle is conditions by our formula. That's all our report. Thank you for listening.
Can you turn to page 12, 2?
2.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh no, 3. Next. And next. And here you use the energy conversion, right?
Yeah.
But you at the other page, you also told us you have to use friction force, right?
Friction force, yes.
But that will have energy conversion.
Oh, yes. Because
Okay, so you didn't consider that.
yes, I didn't consider.
Okay, and turn to page 9, yes. Then you do a lot of questions on that, but here is asked point that is what? Can you explain it?
You said this.
Yes.
It's just a differential.
Okay. Then next. And what's the unity of your graph?
United of a graph. Oh,
Yes.
it didn't unity. It's just a illustration.
And next. And that the force of that is part is equal to that part. That is
Oh,
nothing.
it just equal the kinetic equal to UN equal to this.
Oh, okay. And 70. And this what do you just measure this graph? You
I just backtracker to draw the line.
but the line is a little straight of it. Just a little. I cannot really show that because the tracker will have a point at that, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes, but you didn't have use a point that doesn't know which point is you track it. While others just track it. So I think that line is a little straight of it.
Right, sorry.
And to 10 page roll, I cannot read 10. Oh, 13. And I do just connect all the points.
I just want to show the same between these two pictures.
Okay.
looping pendulum. Then we will see the problem statement. Just as the C have one is more weight and one is lower weight, then we'll have the pendulum like this. So and summary the report have to just he used the Newton's law and the Ford analyze. But at that part she says that the energy conversions by the motions of the velocity, but also she says that she has used frequent energy. So at least I think that is a little confused that what she means about that. And at least force analyze. She do a lot of force analyze on this, just like tensile force or other gravities on this. So that is good part to very clearly that there's no analyze on this. But she didn't know let us know how to conclusions of the tensile force. She just let us know have a tensile force on it, but she didn't just let us know what is conclusions on it. And she only does two variables to change all in this experiment. Just other parameters, just like the string loans or other, just like the string loans will have a different material of the stick. Maybe we'll change the results on this. And in his pictures, that is some of them is not really knows the meanings on this. And the unity is a lot problem in his graph. So we cannot really know what's the meanings of the graph and what she is showing to us at this graph. And she didn't also put the topics of the graph, and we cannot really clearly see that the graph meanings. So and last part she didn't do the error bar on this, so we cannot really know if this is really fit on the COV or it's not fit on the COV. And maybe she can just do more experiments and let us know the error bar and tell us how many times the experiment she does and do other experiments on this. And in his theory part, that she do a lot of experimenting on the theory, but we cannot really know about the factor on the theory connect to the experiment. So we cannot really know the experiment result by her theory. So we just see a equation on her report, but we cannot really know how it change in the experiment. So that's a pity that she didn't explain it very well on this part. So maybe we can turn to the discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to page 5. Yes, I use a lot of equations here, but I cannot really see clearly just know what factors affect what and which one is affect as your experiment.
Okay, so this for equation is means when I want to get like the tangent here or like the long
So we cannot really let us know clearly on the equation, right?
Yes.
Okay. Can you turn to the 15th for some last report? No, I say 15 and 4.
Force.
Yes.
Just experiment 1.
Yes.
Experiment 1.
Yes, I mean that how do you just measure the frictions constant? Just how do you measure that?
Oh, I measure the acceleration here,
Yes.
and then by this two equations we can measure this two equation and this one we can measure in here, and our data is here.
Oh, I know it. So you use your data to let us know the frictions. That's right.
Yes.
But can you know that the frictions
Oh,
constant? Just how do you measure that 0.3156? Just use as the data.
yes, I just measure the A.
How do you just use data to measure A?
Yeah.
Okay. Then at the theory part, you say you use the energy conversion, right?
Yes.
But you also talk about the friction part. So can you explain it?
Okay. So we say that the friction, the energy of the friction
Yes.
we can ignore.
But you at your theory you talk about that. So as you explained, you ignored it.
In this expression is ignored. It's because the touch area with the touch time and the touch area between the tree, what the part of the tree and the rust is immediately so just.
Can you tell us find the grouping pattern and that will stop it? Because if you say it's not the friction force can ignore, then why?
I didn't say that it's a friction force can ignore.
Okay.
I just say that the energy of the friction and friction force can ignore.
Can you say it again?
I just said that the energy of the friction can ignore.
Energy of the frictions can ignore.
No, I didn't say the friction force can ignore.
Then what do you mean the friction force?
Because they have the friction force that this formula is a measure, is a key point,
Yes.
right? But the energy it did on this phenomenon is less. So we just ignore it. Because we can see that the energy will be the.
Because I mean that the last result we see is the grouping pattern is stopped at there. Two things are stopped. So I think part things make the things always stop at the air and didn't fall down.
Just the friction.
Then you say the friction can ignore.
It's because it's because the friction, this part is very less, so we ignore this one for the friction.
But we can really see if the friction is a really important part of your experience.
Yes.
But as you explained it, I just learned that you ignore the friction force.
I didn't ignore the friction force. I just ignore the energy of the friction force.
Okay, maybe you will stop it
Yes.
here and can you turn to the one of the graph, just any of just one. Next. Yeah, this one. Yes. The same questions. Just this is the minutes and the seconds. Why don't you just only use the second? Just why only have people 1 and 17 or others? Why only just don't use the second?
Second.
Yes. Just only use second, don't use the minutes on it. That is confused by me because I cannot really see it.
It's not the time. Sorry.
Also.
It's the weather show.
Also.
Yeah.
Okay. So why do you just point that all the points to connect the line between?
Yes, it's my force, but I just want to show the relationship between these two terms.
Do you do the arrow bar on it?
No,
So how many times you do
this will be the 5 times.
5 times and you
Yeah.
didn't put the arrow bar?
Yes.
I have some suggestions that you can do more expense and put the arrow bar on it that is no benefiting and that is really clear and this that the theory is right. Then turn to another this kind of pictures. That is and this. That's I think that is a little confused that the line is just weird. So can you explain why the line is a little weird on it?
Oh, I know that. So just let me see here. It's because when the light load is about here, the potential energy is hidden enough. So we cannot get the gravitational velocity. So it will make a little weird about this.
So it means that the line is not curved because the line is not really curved on it. It's really rolled and really just let us roll on this at that time.
Well, I think just the initial angle. Yeah, this kind of
Just,
shape.
I have another question. Just, do you measure the two things that on the each side of the pendulum? just measure how weight, how.
Yes, I measure it. The 1 unit will be the 5 gram. So we can see when I said the 1 to 10 like this, is 5 gram.
I know.
Okay.
So maybe you can next time just put it on the report, then I can really know the weight of it. So because you put the weight value, but I think the weight is also an important part of the variables.
Oh yes, but in our formula we say it's just the blood pressure is a key point.
Okay. Then as can you turn to a question first again? That has another question. Yes. Yeah, this one. Can you change T1 and T2? How can we change? Because we cannot know.
It's just the theory. It's just from the theory. And when this have a friction, right? And the temperature here will be bigger.
Oh, I know. So can you explain why the equation is like this?
Just because that this is a rod. Oh, sorry. This is a rod,
Yes.
and there is a street,
Yes.
and here some many small friction.
So the friction is direction, have directions on it.
Direction.
Yes, just direction. The friction have a weight, just like they have a one weight that have a directions.
Yes.
That's why can you just plus all of frictions because the directions. Oh, so just because we know that if the
I did it. So
can I just write it to seven? Just if this is one friction and this is one friction, and we know it have directions, we need to put like this. Cannot just only put these two parts into.
this is it.
So why can you just put it and don't use the direction?
I just this is the friction theory. So I think it's clear enough.
Okay, just then turn to the next question. Just, as the graph will predict that the theory and fitting that the response is really here is really near the theory part. Just your graph I cannot really see that theory and it's fitting to your experimental results.
Okay, so our theory will be used
Just can you have a idle part that us knows that the graph and your expense just compressions that two different on it.
I didn't make the idle proof the check, but I think I just show you the idle proof from our height between the.
So just can you just show us that the graph the idle graph that you put that's
You said this one.
no I say the next just next like this graph you have the idle one and there's no confusion.
No.
So another question just can you just ignore the length weight of the string because I think that the weight of you put is 5 grams is a lot. So can you just ignore this?
We just write the weight of the string, and totally it will be the 0.1.
The opponent please summarize.
At the discussions we can know at the theory part we cannot really explain it very well and let us know each factors and connect to experience and if she cannot improve that cannot really improve that the theory is clearly let us know. And there is a little a large mistake on the friction force and the energy conversions. I think that is a big mistake on it. And at his graph, he didn't do it well on the unity and idle to let us know conversions that too different on it. So I think that is a pity that she didn't do it. So I just suggest that maybe you can put it idle graph and let us know which is different from the expense and idle. And at last she told us that the screen can be ignored, but she says, I know that the one thing is 5 grams, but
Reviewer, please.
thank you.
I have some questions to you. And has take how could you explain this data? Because in your experiment, I see that the weight ratio increase and the height ratio will have an effect, but why it didn't look like this, not a
Right. In our formula, we see is the weight ratio is the variable, but it did have a really obviously relation from the height.
So there is no theory equation of this.
What's about the
Theoretical equation.
theoretical equation?
In your former, you have a lot of theories.
Yes,
And which equation do you use to replace this?
This equation.
So where can you find the relation between the ratio?
The weight ratio, just here and here and here.
That's the
So
height.
the height here, height
So
is
when the ratio increase, the height will decrease on.
it didn't have many.
It didn't have the.
It didn't have the reaction.
And here's some question to hold. You have talked about the friction.
Yes.
So what is your opinion about the red line you just drew?
I think the frictions at that part have a big reaction. So she just plus all the fractions at once. So I think that is a little mistake on this. So
So you think it is a mistake?
no, I think the equation is right, but she explains the ways that the friction is a little mistake on this.
So how will you explain that?
I'll just and write a background here. Because at that part we can see the ball and the grouping pen just has a little frictions and a little frictions. That's only a little change of it. So if it has a directions, we can just put it we have know the frictions for frictions formula this and this and this. We can just from head to toe just put it. So because each one is from head to toe, so we can just put it all of it. But she didn't just told us this one ways to let us know the frictions can cause by this way.
So in conclusion, all of this class is to head to toe, so it's like this.
No. Because
Okay, let's stop. So next stage, reviewer, you can prepare for 2.
Okay, review please.
Hello everyone, my name is TYPT from Rindal University, and our topic today is looping envelope. So this problem statement is when you put one heavy load and one light load together with one rope and hang it on a rock. When you release the light load, and you will have the phenomena mentioned before. So the outline of reporter is explain the problem, and he has this theory and the function point of view, and the calculation of the rough version, and also he has experiment to calculate, to measure the friction coefficient, and also the weight ratio and height, the relation between the ratio and height. And he has the observation of the motion. After that, he has conclusion, and her conclusion is the main influence of this experiment is friction. Okay. So the overview of the reporter, he explained clearly, but he seems that she seems that she doesn't control the time well, and also she has reasonable equations, but maybe some of it about the friction that just said she didn't consider, and she describes force of the system well, but you can add unit in the graph, as mentioned before. And the overview of opponent, he has fluent English and also ask crucial questions. And he knows the flawed report, but he can make the question more clearly to make the reporter to understand. And about their discussion, opponent asked how to measure the friction, and the reporter said the tracker and the formulas. And next, the opponent asked the energy conservation, and the reporter said the energy caused by friction can ignore, but I think they didn't have a common idea, so maybe they can discuss more later. So. And the opponent asked if weight is important, and the reporter said if ratio is the main idea, so weight doesn't matter. And they also discussed what is the equation with this, and the reporter has explained, but the opponent seems disagree on. And I've asked about the data, but the reporter explained, but she didn't show the friction, so I didn't know how to fix the data there. And also, we had some discussion about the friction, and the opponent said in the report, the expression of reporter is not the best. So this is our conclusion. And about the friction, we have discussed, but I think the friction is important, and the energy that caused by friction is also important too. And about the friction coefficient, because the friction is important, so I think the reporter can do the experiment about the friction coefficient, like changing the rod and the rope. And next is about the formulas. And the opponent has asked questions. Thank you.
The reporter, please conclude.
First, we are to say that we ignore the energy of the friction because the X is really small, so we just ignore the energy of the friction, but not the friction force. The second is that what we try to do in our report, in our PowerPoint, is to predict that how the distance the heavy load will fall. The third, the lack of the theory. This phenomenon is lack of the theory, so I just try to create the formula and it can fit this phenomenon. And the last one is I didn't measure it, it's our fault. So this is that sorry. And that's all what I want to say. So thank you.
Questions from the jury?
Reporter, how do you justify the x, the distance for the reflection is small?
Oh, because we think the S is the point, just the point like this.
But the stream move a lot. The stream
It is.
move a lot, so
But this is just only I think this. So I think it's small enough.
Other questions?
about opponent. So what's your? Can you just say something more about reflection? The
Yes,
effect
I-
of reflection.
I think that the Friction force can be get by the Capstan equations. The stat equations can improve by the Friction part.
Question to the reporter. You choose the mass ratio from 1 to 15, as I remember right. Did you ever try the other ratios?
Yes, I tried the other reform, but you want the one like the 1 to 4, 1 to 6.
Is there any difference?
It also can fit our formula and it will succeed. And our video here will be the web ratio 1 to 6 and it succeed. But I cannot predict it. I'm sorry.
To the opponent, do you think the mass ratio will change the result enough?
I think the mass ratio will change it, but the mass ratio is is more important than the mass itself.
To the review, would you suggest any other parameter besides of the you mentioned about the frictions? So do you think there's any parameter you can change in this experiment?
I think we can use different kind of rocks. And because of that, the friction
What do you mean by different type? You mean the surface condition
Yes,
is
yes.
different or the diameter is different?
the surface. It's different material, so the friction coefficient will change and it will change the phenomenon.
Okay, so take your seat and wait a little bit. Okay, so let's start with the reporter. Raise your board, please. 7, 5, 6, 6, 7. And then the opponent. 6, 7, 6, 7, 8. And the reviewer. 7, 7, 6, 6, 7. Is there any comment from Jerry? The grades are rather consistent, so it's okay. So let's take a break. Thank you very much. And third fight. The opponent. Please. pose a question. Number 6. Number 6. Yes. Consent. Please write down the names of your representatives on the blackboard. The opponent, please write down the name of your representative on the blackboard. Okay, then your turn.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Guanyin Li, and I am a reporter from Deep Bounding. And today I'm going to talking about the problem number 6, the hurricane flows. So first, I will do the introduction about the hurricane flows. And this is the problem statement. So from the statement, you know that the two steel balls that join together, it can be spun as an incredibly high fusionase. By first spin them by hand and then burning them burn on them through a tube. For example, a drinking straw. So I will experiment and investigate this phenomenon. Okay. So this is my observation video. And from the video, as you can see, at the high rotation rose, one ball will rest off of the table. So later I will go to the scenario analysis. And first I will explain why it will break out of the table. So from this picture, we can know there are two normal forces, NA and NB, and it gives rise to equal and outside torques that pour into and out of the page. And the fractional force FA and FB, it gives rise to the target FA and the top FA and the top FB. So we know the length torque is this torque is tau. Okay. And so when the normal force NB is here, there will be the three top components about the center of mass. And the first one is the into page 1. The top one is due to the normal force FA. And the vertical one is torque 2, is due to the fractional force FA. And also there are the lift around torque 3, also due to the fractional force FA. And this torque 2, vertical one, you will to change the direction of the omega. So it will break out of the table. And also because of it gives this way rotation, so there will have out page torque. It also calls the precision. The precision means the axis of rotation of a body is itself rotating about the second axis. And the scenario. So we know there are the three angular velocity. The first one is along the symmetry axis, and the second one is along the vertical axis, and the last one is between the vertical axis and the symmetry axis. We call it theta. And we take the zero point from gravitational rotation energy to be the theta equal to pi over 2. It's this one. And is the rotation energy about the two balls all count the surface. And so we also want to know how the angle of the symmetry axis depends on the rotation rose. So we use the Lagrange. And the Lagrange means Lagrange is the kinetic energy. Kinetic energy minus the rotation energy. And also we assume that the kinetic energy of the center of mass motion can be neglected. So we can make the Lagrange to be this one. And the M means the mass of the one ball. Okay. So in the steady state situation, working without sleeping implies that the theta dots goes to 0, and the phi dots equal to the phi dots equal to the omega. We call it omega because of this one. This one is the r sine theta equal to this. Also is the r sine theta. And so we can simplify this equation to this one. And we use this is the Lagrange equation. That we know that the theta dot goes to 0, so we can simplify this Lagrange equation to be this. So through this equation, we can get that. So okay, we know that the sine theta cosine theta equal to this one. Because of the momentum of the
moment of inertia of force is the 2nr squared over 5. So we can get the I1 and I3. And so this we can get that the sine theta equal to 0 or the cosine theta equal to this 1. But we know the sine theta can equal to 0. So we can get this model. And we can get two conclusions. The first one is if the theta between the 0 and the 90, there are no solution if omega squared less than 5g over 2r. So we know there are the critical angular velocity. And the second conclusion, we can know when the theta gets very bigger. We see that the theta reaches the limit per nu. The theta means about to 66 degrees. Okay. So use this scenario, we can get this conclusion. And this is the critical angular velocity, and this is the theta minute. So let's go to the experiment part. And in my experiment, there are 3 independent variables. The first one is the press where we blow. The second one is the burn force. And the last one is the size of ball. It means the R. Okay. So this is my experiment. We use the air compress to control the blowing force, and also we use the high-speed camera to so we can easily to analyze this rotation situation. Okay. So the setup. First, we will bonding two steel balls with instant glue, and the second one, I will spin them by finger and blowing on laser tube, and also we will recording them with a high-speed camera, and next we will investigate this phenomenon. Okay, so how do we know the omega? We use the tracker, and we count this point. And so we can know the omega of this. Okay, so the first experiment, the place where we blow, and we control the diameter of burst is 8 micrometer, and also we control the blowing the time we use. So from this we can know the sense of the same direction of the turn. It can be the fast velocity. Okay, so the second experiment is we will change the blowing force. Okay, and we know that the AV is a constant, so we can use different diameters of stir to affect the blowing force. So the first one we use is the pen. Pen is a 9 micrometer blow in and then 2 micrometer blowing out. So from this we can know when the diameter of straw is getting bigger, the velocity of the hurricane ball will get slow. And okay, so this is the different diameter of balls. So we can get that when the hurricane ball's size get bigger, the velocity of this will get slow. Okay, this experiment is we want to know the theoretical angular velocity. Because in my scenario, we know that there are no solution if omega squared less than 5g over 2r. So we take the high-speed camera, high-speed video, and we to analyze the ball is almost contact the surface, and we conclusion is omega. So the first one is 10 millimeter balls. We know that in the scenario, the omega, the critical angular velocity is 70, and my experiment to count is 64. and also the 15 millimeter burst one. And later is the angle. We want to know, we see that the theta reaches the limited values about 66 degrees. So we conclude this, and we find out that the 10 millimeter burst is the rotation as the inclined by high fusion S. The theta means about to the 65.6, and the 15 millimeter burst is 67.5. It's very close to our scenery. And first I will make a summary. First one is blowing press. The sun direction we blowing is the most the first, and diameter of straw. Diameter burst. Okay. So we know that the diameter of straw is 11 millimeters too large. So the brown wing will be dispersed and then not concentrated. And the diameter of straw 4 millimeter is too small. So the resistance decreases and the wing isn't easy to blow out. So my conclusion is that the pen will make the best rotating velocity. Okay. This is my scenario conclusion, and this is experiment conclusion. Okay. So this is my reference. Thank you everyone.
The opponent, please.
Do you think air drag is important in the experiment?
Pardon?
Air drag.
Oh, yes. That's because of the blowing force, it will give the driving force to be increased by high frequency. So we can do. Sorry. So we didn't consider this, but the experiment is very close to the scenery. So I think that the resistance of the air isn't be the more important.
Actually, it's because the ball is spinning in high frequency, so maybe the air compared to the ball will like a wind blowing on the ball. And do you think how can you improve your formula, your equation by adding an air drag in the formula? Consider air drag in
The parts, adding the parts.
into your formula to improve your formula.
I think it's yes.
And how do you think you can improve your formula?
We can to add the resistance, the constant of the air resistance to my equation. Equation. Okay.
Okay, and do you have compared the spinning ball with there are no wind blowing on it and there are wind blowing on it? Do you compare the two conditions?
Then
Hello everyone, I'm from Minda 1 team, and the problem I was going to introduce is problem 6, hurricane balls. Hurricane balls is if we spin the balls if we spin the ball by our hand, the ball will spin at a high frequency, and I think the important part of the problem statement is blowing on lens rod too, because it is the reason why the ball not only rotate but also spinning in high frequency. And this is the advantage I think has reported. First, he described the cause and effect of the phenomenon precisely, and I think his theory is pretty right. So I think there are not many error in his theory. And next, I think his explanation and speaking is clear, and he will explain by his gesture if he thinks he didn't express his opinion very clearly. But I think he can reduce some of the unnecessary words, and I think he can change some of the parameter in his experiment. And there are some questions for the opponent. First, I asked him if the address is important, and he said it's not. He said it's not really important, and he said he can put it into his equation to improve his formula. And later I will want to ask if he has compared the ball spinning in a condition with no wind blowing on it and the condition of a wind blowing on it. And then I'll ask him if the velocity of the ball is fixed in the experiment, because it is very hard to control the angular velocity of the ball in our experiments. So I want to know which angular velocity did he choose, or he choose the average velocity of the ball. And I'll ask him later how many times did he do the experiment, and how is the every time the experiment is different. And I'll ask him about something about precession, and because I'll see in his video the ball sliding in the initial parts of the experiment. So I'll ask him if in the initial parts of the experiment do the sliding and the kinetic friction cause something on the ball. And I'll ask him how can he fix the blowing points on the ball. And because in the video I see the blowing parts, the ball is spinning on it's not a horizontal surface, because it have to reduce the force that the wind press on the ball. And I'll ask him about the spinning and the relationship between spinning and revolution. And I'll ask him the last one. I'll ask him how can he make sure that the wind he made is all the same in the same force. Okay. So first, I want to ask you, can you go into the next question? How many times do you do the experiments?
About every one current, this one about 3 to 5 times. One part.
Okay, and do every time you measure the angular velocity of the ball is the same?
A little difference, and this is a range angular velocity about this time. Okay.
So do you have a diagram that can show me the relationship between the radius of a ball and the angular velocity?
Didn't add in my component.
Oh, okay. And do you have and calculate the error of the angular velocity you choose because every time the condition is different. So I think there may be some error in your. You can calculate the error in your experiment. Do you calculate that?
Error bar.
Yeah.
Not in this component.
Okay. Okay. And do you think do you know the relationship between revolution and spinning?
Between what and the
Revolution means the ball is spinning in this axis. And can you turn to the page that the ball is on the theory part? Okay. Okay. And I mean that this one is the revolution axis and this one is the spinning axis.
Yes.
And do you have measure or investigate the relationship between them?
Because of we know this one equal to this one and equal to the r sine theta. So we can know that in the
I know that the theory you made is talking about the relationship between the revolution speed of the ball and the degree and the angle. Is that right?
yeah.
So do you investigate the relationship between spinning and revolution?
We can use the tracker and drawing and take the video to the list and the list to conclusion the angular velocity about the list axis and the list axis.
This axis?
Yeah.
And how can you measure the angular velocity of this axis?
This or this?
The tilted one.
Symmetry axis.
Yeah. E3.
We can in my experiment I use the red point on the protein balls and we can conclusion what the right point the velocity.
Okay, and how do you find a relationship between them? Are they positive related or something? Is the spinning angular velocity is much slower than the revolution one, or they are almost the same?
They are almost the same.
And how can you explain the phenomenon?
Because of we know that the R is sleeping, is rolling without sleeping. So the distance that this turn and this turn is the same. And we know the rotation radius about the vertical axis and the symmetric axis is the same. So we can know the angular velocity is the same.
So you think the ball is doing a pure rolling motion? Just rolling and no sliding between the surface.
In the static situation.
So you think that friction is not the main point in this experiment?
Because of the static situation, the time distance is very small.
Okay, so you mean that when the ball is from the initial part to the steady part, that's the duration when the ball gets force from friction, and after that, the friction do little work on the ball. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm pretty agree with the reporter because I think why the ball can spin at high frequency is because the energy loss caused by the friction is not very much. So I think that his opinion is right. And how do you think the precession will affect the motion? Because precession.
Sorry, can you explain what the meaning is a precession? Yeah.
Can you turn to the outline part?
Use it as precision. Okay. Sorry.
axis do you think the precession is road?
E will, this is the first axis, and E will rotation along the vertical axis.
So is it axis is the same with the revolution one? Revolution. Yeah, because there are three causing the ball spinning. One is a revolution. It is your hand to force the ball start to spin. That is a revolution. And spinning is caused by the friction. And is the precession the same axis as the revolution one? All horizontal axis.
Can you explain? Can you repeat again?
The revolution.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. The revolution I said is mean the ball, two of the ball is spinning around this axis, the vertical one.
Yeah.
So you think they are the same axis?
The angular velocity is or use the precision and my theory.
I mean the revolution axis and the precision axis is the same. So the precession will affect the revolution. Is that right?
So the precision will affect the rotation situation.
Yeah.
You mean yes?
I'm pretty agree with the report. And the next part, I want to ask you how do you fix the wind force? Yeah, use the same wind force in the experiments.
We use the air compressor.
And don't the pressure in the air compressor reduce when you blowing through the time?
Yeah.
Will it reduce?
Reduce.
Will the
no.
wind force will reduce?
This is the stable. This is the stable. The wind force of the air compressor is stable.
Okay. And in your, I think in your second experiment,
This one.
back to, yeah, this one. Because you blow the ball on with the tube, and so this is a plate you use it,
Yes.
and is it because you want to reduce the
Fractional force.
yeah, and you want to make the net force of the ball is 0. In a mass of the ball is 0, the net force. So you use the tilted surface to conduct the experiment.
Sorry.
You use a tilted surface to conduct the experiment. Tilted means
Oh no, this is because my video is I take the video. It's a very
theory. Why do because if you do the experiment on a tilted surface,
That's
it will affect the load. Thank you.
so Didier, please summarize.
I think the theory of an experiment of the reporter theory of the reporter is pretty right, but I think some of the parameters they didn't consider in their experiments. And I think if this is a plate, if the ball is spinning on the tilted angle, maybe the tilted surface will affect the motion of the ball, and also affect the angle between the ball and the vertical axis. And they didn't put the arrow bar into the experiment, so I think it's a little bit not quite fit. And they didn't compare they did compare the experiment data with the theoretical one. And they have a good equipment in their experiment.
The reviewer, please.
First, I'm going to actually compare.
system very quick.
This one. Oh no.
You say that the friction will cause the ball rise, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and what will cause the incredibly high velocity?
This is because of the wind force.
Wind force?
Yes.
Okay. Indirectly or directly? Indirectly or directly?
Wind force.
Yes. Indirectly cause the ball the incredibly high frequency or directly.
And
Okay, stop. And opponent, what about your mark?
Continue. Oh,
Yes.
can you explain your question one time?
Okay. What will cause the incredibly high frequency? Do you think it's the wind force too?
I think it is because of the wind force and also the friction, kinetic friction didn't.
Okay. I know. And it's indirectly or directly?
Directly.
Okay, thank you. And my next question. The friction influence to the angular velocity is increase or decrease or increase and decrease.
in the first is it can increase the rotation. Right. But in the steady the action, the frictional force, it maybe will reduce the angular velocity of the protein belt.
Okay, great. And I want to ask you too. When you say that the air resistance is considered, is one of the things that you need to consider. And what will the air resistance cost? Do you have any opinion on this?
Air resistance will cause the ball to start to slower it decrease its angular velocity. So that's I think the main reason why the ball will stop eventually.
Okay. Indirectly or directly?
Air force?
Yes.
Air direct? I think it is directly.
Okay.
Okay, start please.
Okay, hello everybody. I'm a reviewer of sample rates, and their experience, their observation, and their conclusion. This is a pros and cons of reporter. He has a proper volume and clear formula. And the con is they did not explain why the phenomenon happens, and they should measure more accurately. And they did not explain the conclusion. And this is the pros and cons of opponent. They have enough questions and they know the experiment well, but they didn't talk about the theory and formula very lot, and they talk too much in the experiment. Report is not clear and cannot ask further questions. Okay, this is the question and answer. The question is, do you think the resistance of the air is important? The answer is yes, but we didn't consider it. And the reviewer thinks that the resistance of the air is important, but it's important to stop the ball rotating and stop the ball precession motion, but not in blowing. And the question is, how can you improve your formula? The answer is, I think we can consider the answer is, okay, I think they have improved their formula well. The question is, do you compare if there is no blowing and there is blowing? They didn't answer. Okay, next. The question is, how many times the experiment is done? The answer is 3 to 5 times, and I think it is because you rotate the hurricane ball by hand and you can get the same velocity. It's that you do a lot of times of the experiment, but they just get the 3 to 5 times for the same velocity. Okay, the difference between each experiment. The answer is the angle velocity is a bit different. Oh, next. And they ask, do you have a chart? The answer is no. Okay. Do you know the difference between? Okay, skip. And I'm going to my conclusion. I think that the reporter and the opponent don't really know what caused the incredibly high frequency from the hurricane ball. May I use the blackboard?
Sure.
Yes. Okay. That is, if you blow at the ball, and it will cause that the ball rise, and it will be like that. And if it rises, there will be a friction and a normal force increase. And the normal force, the top of the normal force will cause the incredibly high frequency. So that blowing is indirectly increase the velocity. Okay. This is my review.
The reporter, please.
Okay, thank you for opponent and the reviewer's suggestion. But the first one, we know when the air resistance it will affect the hurricane bolts. That I think that it isn't the most important of my experiment. So we didn't consider it. And the second is our fault. We didn't compare the two suggestions as blowing is it or not. And that we suggestion that the slide can be ignored. And we control the blowing force as a constant by air compressor. It is in my PowerPoint. And we think that the wind after the hurricane blows both directly and indirectly. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Some questions from the jury.
Could you explain again why one of the balls leave up?
lift up.
Yes, lift up on the surface.
And because of there are the when the this is at point A and this point B, and when the point B when each the point B is raised and the fractional force of B, it will be these are here. Okay, so there will the fractional force of NA like this one, right? And it will cause the vertical component and the lift component, and because of the omega of the direction of omega is like this way, so this is how FA. So the vertical component of the tau FA, it will change the direction of the omega. So it will cause it raise out of the table.
But the ball rotate this way, right, to the two balls. So there's no omega along x-axis. Along x-axis, you mark omega. Where is it?
And this is the omega. Omega
What?
this way, and this omega.
How does the two balls rotate give you an omega like that?
Oh, because of we turn is I say this, we turn is this way, and the fractional force will cause the still hurricane bolts will cause the fractional force. The fractional force will cause a hurricane bolts rotating like this way, right? The torque, it will cause a torque, and then it will rotating this way. Sorry.
But do you agree with reviewer's argument about the right,
This one?
yeah, the left one? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with Xu. But Xu is determining why you will rotating as an incredibly high frequency.
Okay.
Now
The next question is why? Is when the one of the balls leave the surface, the rotational speeds up. Why is that?
speed. Oh. And when we blowing on it,
Do you think that the air blow speeds up the rotation? The blowing air speeds up the rotation?
it's very primary to the final. This way. And this way P is more smaller. So it will make it accelerate.
What do you think?
I think the wind will make it turn on the ball.
I make it speed up.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think the wind will make a top of next. Sorry. It will cause a force like that this into the backboard, and for these two balls, it will be this is R, and we use R to cross F. The direction is into the backboard, so we use R to cross F and make the ball rise. And the ball rise, there will be, because of here will be a friction, and out of there and increase normal force.
let's start with the reporter. The reporter 77588. And the opponent 78778. And the reviewer 77778. Any comment?
I would like to make a comment about the reporter's theory part. I think if you understand the theory you use,
Background or this?
everything,
Yes.
you can understand.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Other comments?
We can discuss with Chinese later, and because
Okay, so yeah, you can come and ask and discuss in Chinese. But I'd like to remind the juror we are not supposed to tell them the correct answer. We can only tell them the principles and the strategies, but not the correct answers to the questions. So thank you very much for a good fight, and I wish you luck afterwards.